you done now? Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Hey guys, Brad Gilmore here from Back to the Future, the podcast. And if you're out there looking to rent a DeLorean time machine, well, let me tell you the number one place to do so. That's DeLoreanRental.com. DeLoreanRental.com, they have the DeLorean time machine all across the United States, from Los Angeles all the way to NYC, and even a few in the UK, Germany, France, Italy, and adding more cars daily. Check out their packages online to see what would be your best fit for your event. And I'm talking, man, if you need to go to whatever it is to have a DeLorean, if you're looking to rent a DeLorean time machine for a birthday, corporate event, wedding, anniversary, or party, whatever it is that you're looking for, just go to DeLoreanRental.com. Again, that's DeLoreanRental.com. It's the one-stop shop and place to get a DeLorean time machine for your special event. Do it today. Don't run out of time. Hit that book now button on DeLoreanRental.com to get a quote. Again, DeLoreanRental.com. That's DeLoreanRental.com.
As they said in the film, Back to the Future, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Marty! You've got to come back with me!
Where? Back to the future!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Back to the Future, the podcast, the only podcast looking back in time with the greatest film trilogy of all time, Back to the Future. I'm your friend in time, Brad Gilmore, author of the best-selling book, Back from the Future, a celebration of the greatest time travel story ever told, available now on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Let me read them all. Audible, Apple Books, IndieBound, or BackFromTheFutureBook.com. Excited to be here with you all today, because today we have a very special guest, Mr. Don Fullilove, the man who played, you know who he played, the man who played Goldie Wilson in the Back to the Future films. Maybe you remember this scene.
Say, what do you let those boys push you around like that for?
Well, they're bigger than me.
Stand tall, boy. Have some respect for yourself. Don't you know if you let people walk over you now, they'll be walking over you for the rest of your life? Look at me. You think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life in this slop house?
Watch it, Goldie.
No, sir. I'm gonna make something of myself. I'm going to night school, and one day I'm gonna be somebody.
That's right, he's gonna be mayor.
Yeah, I'm mayor. Now that's a good idea. I could run for mayor.
A colored mayor, that'll be the day.
You wait and see, Mr. Carruthers. I will be mayor.
That is one of the most iconic line deliveries of all time there at Lou's Cafe from the one and only Don Fullilove, Goldie Wilson, the future mayor of Hill Valley in 1955. Don Fullilove becomes mayor, or Goldie Wilson becomes mayor in 1985, and then we see him reprise that role as Goldie Wilson III, his own grandson in Back to the Future Part 2, but we have Don Fullilove on. I'm so excited to finally talk to him. I sat down with Don over the phone from his office there in Los Angeles, California. I'm at my home studio here in Houston, Texas, and we discuss his early career, how he got into the show business as a whole, and then his audition with Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, an interesting story that I had never heard about Back to the Future Part 2, and more. So right now, I'm not going to waste any time here on Back to the Future, the podcast. Thank you to everybody who has picked up the book. Thank you to everybody who went out there and supported my interview with Leah Thompson last week. And hopefully you watched her episode of The Goldbergs. And thank you to everyone who left a review over there on Amazon. It's big for me. If you leave a review on Amazon, I would really, truly, very much appreciate it. You can go over to Amazon.com right now to do so. But let's not waste any time. And let's go to the interview with everyone's favorite mayor, Mayor Goldie Wilson, Don Fullilove. And he joins me right now, Don Fullilove, also known as Goldie Wilson from Back to the Future. Don, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Hey, glad to be here.
It's been a long time coming. I'm so excited to finally get you on the line. I mean, Mayor Goldie Wilson is without a doubt one of the most iconic characters I think, in cinematic history. And it's so cool to finally get to talk to you. How are things, though, going for you right now during this kind of crazy time that we're living in the world?
Oh, well, just out here in good old Hill Valley, social distancing.
Yeah, well, as the mayor, you got to touch the people, right? You gotta make sure everybody is calm, cool, and collected. And I see that you're doing a good job.
You got it.
Well, let's start from the top, though. You're one of the Goldie Wilson's one of those iconic characters, like I said. But let's start with you. Where did your career begin in acting, and where were you, born and raised, and when did you get the bug?
Many, many moons ago, my mother was a contestant on a show called The Hollywood Squares.
Wow.
And as a little tyke, I went with her to film the show, and quite naturally, they took her off to the soundproof room, and they were doing pre-production for the show. So, people that were there in the audience with contestant members, one of the producers of the show asked me if I wanted to sit up in the square while they rigged the lights and sound. So they put me in Michael Landon's square, and being a precocious kid I was, for whatever reason, they liked me and asked me a bunch of questions, and the next thing you know, I had an agent. Thus began the career of Don Fullilove.
So here you are, you're going somewhere with your mom, and next thing you know, you have a whole career ahead of you. So were you're a child actor? So what were some of the first things that you worked on?
Well, I started off in voiceover, so the very first thing that I ever did was playing the voice of Michael Jackson on the Jackson 5 cartoon show. And then I went on to do a bunch of other cartoon series. A show called Emergency Plus 4, which is based off of the TV show on at the time called Emergency. I did a show called Kid Power, which was based on a comic strip called We Pals. And just a bunch of other radio spots and stuff like that.
How was it playing Michael Jackson, the voice of Michael Jackson? And this isn't a time where Michael's still the biggest thing in the world. How was that getting to play Michael?
I was the coolest kid in the 7th grade.
I'm sure you were. But that must have been a trip for you. Were you a big Michael fan?
I was. Everybody in the world was a Jackson 5 fan. I definitely was. So to be able to hang out with them, Diana Ross, all the greats from Motown back in the day, Temptations, Marvin Gaye, Berry Gordy, kind of fun for a kid.
I would imagine
that
that
would my mother away too.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be kind of a crazy experience. And I guess being exposed to it so young, did it feel like, oh, this happens for every kid, or did you know that this was a unique journey that you were on?
Oh no, it was obvious that it was pretty unique.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know, according to online like me, you're a Texas boy, born in Dallas. Is that correct?
I was birthed in Dallas. I never stayed there. I was immediately sent back to Los Angeles, where my parents lived.
Okay, so you're pretty much a born and bred West Coaster.
Oh yeah, my mother just happened to be visiting Texas when she went into labor.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're out there in California. You're playing Michael Jackson. You're the coolest kid in the 7th grade, like you said. And you're saying you're doing a lot of cartoons, voiceover work. When was it that you've had your first on-camera, on-screen role in a television or a film?
The CBS Movie of the Week in 1980. It was called Scared Straight, Another Story. It was based off the documentary Scared Straight about kids being taken to prison so that the convicts could try and scare them into a life of being straight as opposed to a life of crime. So that was the first major role that I had. I played a character named Smash, who unfortunately was not scared straight.
Didn't work out for him, huh?
Didn't work out for the young guy. But the thing about it is the movie was so... the people that cast me in the movie were so impressed with the work that I had done. It was they were the ones who cast Back to the Future, and they brought me in to meet with Zemeckis, Zemeckis, Spielberg, and Gale.
Wow.
So that's how I got to. That was the jump to Back to the Future.
So you go into this casting session with Zemeckis, Gale, Steven Spielberg, who at the time is a kingmaker in Hollywood in most people's eyes. What was your preparation? So you obviously they sent you some sides or something. You knew that you're going to audition for this character, Goldie Wilson. What was your first impression of the character? Let me ask you that. When you read the script, you saw what you were supposed to go in there and do. What was your first impression of Goldie Wilson?
Well, I don't know about most of the people from the cast. I think it was, quite a few of the people from the cast. There was never a script. There was only meetings. There was no script. There was no sides. I just went in for a meeting with them, and they were asking me questions that until I actually did the film, I didn't understand what they were asking me questions about. They asked me if I knew how to sing, obviously, because they were probably considering the role of Marvin Berry for me as well. And I guess after the meeting, they decided, you know what, you're a better fit as Goldie Wilson. So I never heard from them for, a couple of weeks. And then I got a call, and the part was offered to me.
Wow, so you didn't know exactly what you're going in for. You just went in for an informal meeting. And what was your first impression of Robert Zemeckis and Gale and Steven Spielberg? Describe that meeting from what you can remember.
Back then, video games were just becoming the rage, the arcade-style video games. And I remember going into Universal Studios, and at that time, probably still now, I'm sure, Amblin Entertainment had a compound on the Universal Studio lot. So you're on the Universal Studio lot, and you drive up to Amblin, and it's a whole nother giant gate. And as the gates to Amblin open, and you begin to see the Amblin compound, you kind of get overwhelmed because you're like, holy cow, this is where Steven Spielberg does all of his stuff, the Steven Spielberg. So I get inside, and I remember prior to going in the office meeting with them, it was a room just full of arcade video games to play. So
it's crazy.
That was young Don's first impression of the first meeting of Back to the Future.
So how long between that meeting did it take for you to get the role? About how long do you remember the process being?
I think it was 1 or 2 weeks. It wasn't a long time.
And then you get cast, and then when you find out that Goldie Wilson, you're not going to play Marvin Berry, that's going to Harry Waters Jr., you're going to be playing Goldie Wilson, they think that you're the perfect fit. Then when you finally see a script and you're getting to understand your character, you're the mayor of Hill Valley in the 80s, in the 50s, you're working at Lou's Cafe. What was your impression of Goldie Wilson then?
I don't know that I had an impression of Goldie as much as I just did of trying to bring the character to life, because of the fact that his main scenes were in the 50s, and the 50s being a highly prejudicial time during our history. The thought of a black person becoming mayor of any city was absurd. The thought of a busboy becoming the mayor is absolutely crazy. But the fact that Goldie had the type of internal fortitude and confidence in himself to instill that confidence into George McFly was a big deal. I didn't realize how big a deal that was, because I was just an actor doing a part. And, as history has shown, that, I did a lot, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so you're getting ready to film, and the cast is set, and as many people know, Eric Stoltz was the original Marty McFly. Did you work with Eric Stoltz in those 6 weeks of production?
I worked for 4 of those weeks with Eric.
Wow. And was there a feeling on set that it wasn't working, or did everyone think that everything was going fine and this seemed like, okay, we're going forward with this movie, Eric's doing great?
I mean, I would hear little whispers and stuff. I mean, I was a day player. Nobody was going to tell me behind the scenes stuff. But just being there and just hearing little snips of conversations made me think that something was in the air.
So were you already done with all of your scenes for the film when Michael came in?
Yeah, I was already done.
So
this was near. I think this was near Christmas of '84, I believe, when Bob Gale's office gave me a call and asked me if I'd like to come back and do it all over again.
And that's what I wanted to ask. How hard is that? Because I would think as an actor, you kind of figure out what you want to do. You go in there the day of shooting. Shooting days, as everyone knows, are long. They can go forever. But you have these pivotal scenes in the 1950s. You're really our first real link between what we see in 85 and 55. And we're going to see Goldie Wilson become mayor. And you put in your performance, and then you get a call that you got to come back and redo everything. How hard is that as an actor?
It wasn't hard at all. You're an actor, you're paid to act. And, back then I was a young guy and acting is all I wanted to do. I didn't care if it was acting on a street corner. As long as I was acting, it didn't matter. And then the opportunity to get it, to do it all over again. And originally I knew that Michael J. Fox was supposed to have been in the lead. Everyone knew that Michael J. Fox was supposed to have been in the lead, but, Gary David Goldberg, I think, who was the producer of Family Ties, wouldn't let him go. So the rest, as they say, is history.
That's right. And Michael comes in, and did it feel, I guess, the second go around? Did you feel maybe, so you said you're an actor, so now that you're paid to act, you're coming in the second time, I guess that maybe in some ways it was even a little bit easier because you knew everybody, you knew what you needed to accomplish by the end of the day. So I guess, was it easier the second time around, or the same, or was there any difference at all?
With all due respect, Brad, I don't even remember the first time around.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I remember nothing about shooting the first time around except that they have craft services, and craft service, they had the largest shrimp I had ever seen in my life. That's what I remember.
But there you go. I mean, I would remember that too. That was something that would stick out to me. And then in that scene, though, at Lou's Cafe, and I've heard you talk about it before, but it's one of those things that I think that anybody who's seen the film, one of the lines that everyone remembers is the inflection, the vocal inflection of delivery of Mayor, the way that you say it. Was that just a natural thing, or did you put any thought into that, or did that just how it came out?
I was thinking more about the physical aspect, about the revelation coming over my face, more so than I was the audio portion. The audio portion was just it was just organic. It just happened like that.
Do you think it had anything to do with your background as a vocal actor? You're trying to bring these characters to life without using facial features, just using vocal inflection, and maybe that training is what made that line, because it's iconic. It's weird that one word, just the way that it's said, Mayor, you wouldn't think that would stick out so much in the film, but every person who's seen the movie knows Mayor. I can't do it justice, but everybody knows that. Do you think that your background in voice acting had anything to do with it?
I have to plead the fifth. I have no idea. It just happened, and just like the whole movie, everything just worked.
I think that's a great way to put it, because it seemed like everything in this movie just seemed to click. And when you I don't know if it was at a premiere, you had a cast and crew screening. I don't know the first time you saw the film after it was completed, before it was released in July of '85. But when you saw it, is it one of those things to where you knew, hey man, this actually might be huge?
Well, the fact that it was a Steven Spielberg film, and it was starring probably one of the most famous television personalities at the time, I assumed it would be, a decent film.
And go ahead.
I thought my part was too little.
For sure.
And and Harry got a gold record, so I tease him about that all the time. I could have been Marvin Berry and had a gold record.
But instead, you're forever nobility as the mayor of Hill Valley. But it goes to number one. It's the biggest movie of the year. Were you thinking, well, obviously they're going to do another one?
I was not, actually.
So when you got the call to come in and okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say that after the theatrical release and it, did what it was supposed to do. I mean, I was an actor. I was out trying to find other work because that was in the can and there wasn't going to be anything else coming from that. So, I went on with my life.
And then when you get the call that they are going to do the sequel, I mean, it's several years later, 4 years later, is when in '89 is when Back to the Future 2 came out. So were you when you heard the sequel was going, were you expecting a phone call? Did you think maybe they can find a way to get Goldie Wilson back in this one? And then when you got the call that you're also going to play your grandson, Goldie Wilson III, what was your thinking then?
Well, now that's a cute story. I didn't know that Back to the Future 2 was being shot until it was finished. And when it was finished, I was a little upset because they didn't have any Goldie Wilson in part 2. But hey, that's Universal. I'm just a little actor. Go pound sand, dude. And then I got a call. Don't remember who it was from. Got a call from the studio that wanted to negotiate a deal with me to come and play Goldie Wilson III. And I declined it because they wanted to give me a little bit of money. And I knew at this time that this film had made $1 billion, so money wasn't an issue. So I just said, no, I don't want to do it. And unless you give me this day rate. And they declined the day rate, obviously. Went on about my business, and I guess a day or two later, I got a call. They're like, okay, we'll give you the day rate. And I go and, was it stage 27? I can't remember. One of the stages at Universal, I go in there, and they have this huge green screen set up. So I go in there, the green screen, they dress me up. I do the whole hover conversion thing, and that's how it all happened. But because the film was over and all the credits had been done, if you notice, I don't know about now, but you'll notice on the original that my name does not appear in any of the credits as Goldie Wilson III because they had already been done, and to go and redo them obviously would have been a big budgetary issue. So there's a little trivia for you.
Wow, I did not know that because you just assume that it was all done at the same time, and I didn't know that the film had already been completed. That's something I didn't even know. And for you though to be able to still be a part. Even just doing the Goldie Wilson III thing, I'm sure it was fun to continue the legacy of that character. And you said you're doing more acting in between. Then, how much do you think that character, or let me not how much? Why do you think the character of Goldie Wilson resonates so well? Because in the book that I worked on, I list Goldie Wilson as one of the, if not the most important character outside of the main four of Doc, Marty, Lorraine, and Biff and George. Why do you think Goldie Wilson made that connection with so many people, and why we think about Goldie Wilson every time we think about Back to the Future?
Well, my best guess is after having in 2010. I found out in 2010 that Back to the Future was still a big hit. I didn't know.
Really? You had no idea that people still connected to it so much?
Didn't have a clue.
Wow, really?
Did not have a clue.
Okay.
I saw a Back to the Future reunion on the internet out here in Burbank. And it was Chris, it was Michael, Claudia Wells, Jeffrey Wiseman, Bob Gale, and some other people. I saw the picture, and then once again, I got pissed off again because I basically thought, here it is, Back to the Future, dissing me again. And so I decided to do some Googling and looking and stuff. And as I began to, go through, I Googled my name and I Googled the character's name, and then I came back with pages and pages and pages of stuff. And I had a friend who had been telling me for years, man, the mayor's thing, yeah, whatever. And then I saw all of that stuff, and I was like, holy cow. But to answer your question, I think because of the fact that now I've been to so many the personal appearances and Comic-Cons, and I've had a chance to talk to the fans and stuff like that, I imagine it's just because of the fact that the character instilled such, along with their mayor part, instilled a level of confidence in people who might have been wavering on the less confident side. I've had a lot of conversations about that. People tell me, that really inspired me and stuff. I was like, wow, okay, that's awesome. That's the best I can do for you, Brad. I don't understand the phenomenon.
No, I think that you do. I think you hit it right on the head. It is to me, it is an inspiring thing, because I always think about Don, like, I don't know, sometimes I break it down like, man, if I never talked to that person, I would have never met this person. I never would have done that. I kind of break it down. And when you think about Goldie Wilson, had Marty just not given him that one small, line, that's right, he's going to be mayor, and given the character of Goldie something to shoot for, even if it was 30 years from now, he had that in the back of his mind the whole time, that, and it goes with the film. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. I think that Goldie Wilson is the perfect example of that. And it was before before Marty's changes, George's changes, even Doc's. It was Goldie Wilson that we first knew, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And I think that's why the character has resonated for all of these years, now going on the 35th anniversary, if you can believe it or not, of the first film.
Wow.
Crazy. In 2015, when we had the Future Day celebrations, I know that you've done so many great things with the Back to the Future community. What was that like for you, actually being able to live in Future Day and see that fandom all come rushing back again?
We were in London, and it was surreal. It was just surreal. That's all I can say. There were so many people there, and so many people have such love for the trilogy. I continue to be humbled and astounded by the staying power of this film.
Do you think, and it's a debate with the fan community so much, but do you think that we ever see a continuation of the series, or would you like to see another Back to the Future, whether it be a 4 or a reboot or anything like that? Or do you think that these 3 films, they hit it out of the park, there's no reason to touch it, let it be?
I think people want another one simply because the first 3 were so endearing, but I don't think that another one will capture the essence of what the originals did. It's, leave it alone. Let it live in its glory. Don't try and do anything. And it's my understanding that the Bobs have something written into their contracts or whatever, that as long as they're alive or whatever, that no remakes can be made.
And I think that it's one of those things. It's I think as a fan I would be open to another story, but I'm like you. I don't think that you could just capture the magic of those first 3, especially the first one, which many people regard as a perfect movie. Now, after the Future Day thing was awesome for everybody. In 2018, you did a project called The Fastest DeLorean, World's Fastest DeLorean. Talk to me about Fastest DeLorean in the world. Talk to me about that. What was the inspiration to do the fastest DeLorean in the world?
And well, Claudia Wells invited me over to a fan event. Oh gosh, I forget what year it was, a while back. And the event was taking place at a house not too far from where I live. And I get there, and the guy that owns the house has a DeLorean time machine and a mini golf course in his backyard. Adam Contras. So after meeting Adam, we just kind of hit it off. We just became buds. And Adam has a distinct pleasure of being the longest running vlogger in history. He's been doing a video blog since way before digital stuff was happening. So we became friends, and we would just shoot different stuff. And the transmission of the engine in his car blew up or just went out. DeLoreans aren't noted for their awesome drivetrains, by the way. So he decided to put a big engine in it. Corvette engine, I think it was, a L3, LS3 or something like that, and then document it as it happened. So when he put it in there, he decided to go for the world's record. And like I said, Adam documents everything. So every time we went somewhere and did something with the car, he would shoot it and he knitted it all together and came up with a film. That's how that happened.
Yeah, and it's available. People can watch it now. And now that we're here at the 35th anniversary, Don, what? And I know it's a weird time in the world right now, but what can we expect from Goldie Wilson? It is an election year. I know that Goldie has been putting his name out there. Maybe going to be on the ballot in November. What can we expect from Goldie Wilson in the year 2020?
Well, it came to my understanding that in 2016, I had a shot at being president because I think I had a total of about 17 or 18 write-in votes. So
it's a start,
so
right?
Goldie, huh?
It's a good start.
That's a great start. You know, that's 18, only what, 80 million to go. Every election Goldie runs, Goldie probably will never win, but it's just to bring some levity and fun into what sometimes can be a tense and weird situation.
Oh, I think it's fun. Well, Goldie's always going to have my vote, and like I said, it's crazy that we're here at the 35th anniversary. And Don, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me because there's so many people out there like me who are fans of these films who hold them near and dear to their hearts. And you have been one of those characters that has been in my life as long as. Here's the thing: you've been in my life as long as my parents have, as far as I'm concerned, or my oldest friend. I've seen Goldie Wilson my entire life, and it's an absolute honor and privilege to be able to speak to you today, especially now that we're embarking on the 35th anniversary of the films. I ask everybody who's come on to the show this, Crispin, Jeffrey, Leah, Harry, everybody. I've asked them, and I'll ask you to close out here. In your opinion, what makes Back to the Future timeless?
Story, performance, and visuals.
Wow. I think that is a phenomenal answer. Goldie Wilson, Don Fullilove, I appreciate you taking the time. Let the people know where they can find you, get in contact with you, follow you, get any merchandise that you may have, and where can they vote in November for Goldie Wilson?
There's always a little blank space at the end of every ballot that says write in. But you know what? It's fun and games. I want everybody to take their vote seriously, though, and vote for who they really believe can take this country forward. My vote for Goldie is just a novelty thing, and it's fun. Like I said, it just brings levity to the situation. But it's very serious to vote. So I just tell everybody, get out there and do your thing, vote.
Awesome. And I know you have the website. You can find Don online there.
Oh, yeah. That's MayorGoldieBTTF.com.
MayorGoldieBTTF.com. You got all kinds of great stuff. You can get campaign pins, a sign, 8x10s. I know you got the Gambit over there, so make sure you go do that for Don. Don, again, I appreciate you taking the time. Mr. Mayor Goldie Wilson, Don Fullilove, thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry it took so long.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now? Oh, Brad, what have you done now?